Minecraft. It's the top-selling video game of all time. There are over 100 million players every month, and the Lunch Table is no exception to that player count. From the very start of the server's creation, Minecraft has been a staple game among each of the members. With December approaching, that means the long-awaited Caves and Cliffs update will soon be released, and it only seems fit to go over our previous Minecraft escapades. After all, the Lunch Table has been planning an SMP for quite some time, but the hype has gone away after waiting for so long. Either way, looking at how this single game has cemented its place in the server will definitely be a long ride. Without further ado, this is the history of Minecraft and the Lunch Table.
Bro, how does that apply to real life physics?
Yeah, the mic.
After the Lunch Table was created in June, several survival worlds had been made by Dying Galaxy, joined by Monk Sway, Richard, Beandini, Jazz, and Kaze Not many of these went on to anything significant, but one world in particular stuck with the group. And while there isn't much in-game documentation of this world, it was the first big Minecraft world they had started. And so for the next month and a half, they played on a little world called Communism. While these 6 were on the world, one of the server's first conflicts had erupted. The players had been split into 2 sides, the capitalist and the communist side. Essentially, the capitalists accused the host, Dying Galaxy, of hoarding all of the valuables. As a result, the capitalists moved away from base and created their own base called Capitalist Valley. Like most arguments in the Lunch Table, the players realized that there was no base to their argument, and the capitalists moved back in, restoring peace to the world. In early July 2020, Jules and Bob joined the server, and they soon became regulars on the world as well. At this point, Monk Sway was inactive on the server, leaving the player count at 7. And then, it was fairly smooth sailing with some minor arguments here and there. As the month came to a close, activity in the world slowed down. The host Dying Galaxy was borrowing a PS4 from family and wanted to make the most of it by playing as much as he could on it until he had to return it. This meant very little world uptime, but it didn't end there. Dying Galaxy had told him a date for when he would return the PS4 and come back to the world. But when that date arrived, he went on vacation for another 2 weeks. Of course, the members were outraged, but what could they do? By the time August came, Jazz and Richard had the answer. With the help of Angel, a realm was started. Jazz, Richard, Beandini, and a new member, Christ, were the main members of this world, with occasional input from Angel. While the communism world was left with an unfinished house, these members had pretty big projects in mind. They built an impressive house and progressed through the game at a much smoother pace than the last world. After beating the dragon, they had plans for a huge town for their villagers, compared to the underground trade dungeon they had made in communism. On top of their village plans, the world had an expansive industrial district, and they even experimented with landscaping. Unfortunately, the village and landscaping projects were never completed. All of this work was taking place when school had just started, hindering their progress. By early September, the world was presumed dead. After Among Us died in the server, it opened up space for other games. The members would touch on Minecraft during this time, usually playing on servers like CubeCraft and Hive, and sometimes experimenting with hardcore worlds. Other than that, not much happened on Minecraft. Not until November, when the historic Penn Island was created.
Someone get me out. I fell down the Garfield hole.
Penn Island was created on a whim when the server was waiting on Angel to reset the realm. Jazz, out of pure boredom, opened the world on a preset island seed and had everyone join. The island was horrible for survivability, with very little land and just one small cave with no iron. The players quickly moved out by boat and landed near rough stone hills biome, with a taiga biome nearby. They settled on top of a mountain and built a small hut there. For a while, they lived there and gained access to the Nether. But when the idea of expansion came up, there was obviously no room to make a house built for everyone on the tiny peak they had initially settled on. By way of the Nether, the group had found a plains biome next to the ocean, surrounded by different kinds of forest, which was desirable for a house with different types of wood. As it turns out, they landed on the opposite side of the ocean from their last base, with Spawn Island in the center. Business proceeded as usual. Players set up camp on an island by the shore and began constructing a massive house on the plains. Apart from the main house being constructed by Jazz, other players had some construction to do themselves. Some notable builds include Monk Sway's Dirt Church, Bob Tower, and modern 1500s Pyramid, which had been flipped upside down by Jazz and Richard. The world also had a huge ranch and an even bigger industrial district from last time. As with all Minecraft worlds on the server, conflict was inevitable, and Penn Island was the breeding ground of many arguments on the server. The first and most memorable of which was the bed mining incident. During the house's construction, there was no official mine, and underground resources were in demand. Dying Galaxy was quick to open a diamond mine in the backyard region of the house. However, it might have been a little too quick. When the house established the mine in its basement, his mine became obsolete. Players had criticism about Dying Galaxy's mine as well. Mainly, it was a series of 3x3 tunnels rather than 2x2 to allow for sprint jumping. The branches were also off-center, and some players doubted if the mine was even producing diamonds in the first place. Even though his mine was not in use, he and Richard still committed to its expansion. They started building a storage and smelting hub for the mine, putting great emphasis on its appearance. This would all end when Jazz decided to blow up the mine using the TNT stolen from desert temples. The entire act was recorded and was dubbed bed mining on the server after the initial footage was turned into a meme. After the incident, Dying Galaxy avoided Minecraft for a good while before returning to the world. As funny as it was, the bed mining incident wasn't as bad as what happened in early January. Jazz, Martin 1500, and Monk Soy decided to pull a massive prank on Jules. This prank would consist of two parts. The main part basically involved kicking Jules out of her iconic pink room and replacing the walls with gray concrete. The second part was to kidnap her cats and put off-brand cats in their place. When these two plans succeeded, and Jules witnessed her place in the world die out, she ghosted the server for a couple days. Right after it all went down, the pranksters had immediate regret and scrambled to form an apology. This resulted in the construction of the flower pot and the castle on the floating island, as well as the apology jam board and the legendary Green Eggs and Ham poem by Monk Soy. Unfortunately, the destruction doesn't end there. In late January, this happened.
Oh god!
Oh my!
I'm running! Why is there TNT under it?
Why?
Why is there TNT? Dude, that was the most shocking. I actually didn't know that. I wasn't part of that. I swear, I have no idea.
Martin 1500 had the idea of blowing up the castle he had just built weeks ago as an apology for Jules. Witnessed by Jazz, Monk Soy, and Richard, end crystals were planted around her base. Unknown to Monk Soy and Richard, Martin 1500 had previously planted TNT inside of the floating island.
Why is there TNT?
While Martin 1500 prepared to set off the explosives, Richard was trying to push Jules' cats away from the explosives. But out of nowhere, Jules joined the game, and before she got to the island, Martin 1500 shot an end crystal, triggering a massive explosion. The explosion left giant holes in the island and destroyed most of the castle. Once this happened, Jules ghosted the server again. Martin 1500 ended up apologizing by rebuilding the island upside down. This idea never came to completion. No matter how legendary Pen Island had been, it died much like the previous worlds. It sort of just faded away, and the members had no desire to play on it anymore. While the world did have its good moments, like Thanksgiving dinner and presents by the Christmas tree, the bad would often outweigh these moments. Some say that the amount of conflict is the reason that the world died, and it's not unreasonable to think that. Even so, the world is still incredibly memorable, and it holds a special place in the server's history. In the months following Pen Island's death, Minecraft was generally shied away from. During spring break, Jazz, Bindini, Jules, and Kaze Fove had set up a Minecraft server, which was fairly active. All of their Minecraft worlds so far had been on Bedrock Edition to suit the rest of the members, but this time it was on Java Edition. They had plans for an above-ground villager city similar to the Realm Village. However, these plans were left incomplete as well. After the Java server died within a week of its creation, Launch Table didn't do much with Minecraft. At least, not until summer. In mid-July of this year, Martin 1500 brought up a crazy, yet intriguing idea through a TikTok meme. The idea was to play Minecraft and fish until 3 AM, which was definitely something the server would have done. However, the idea was brushed off until later that month, when Jazz opened Fish World with Bindini, Monk Soy, and Jules. This world was set on experimental world generation, which was essentially Bedrock's equivalent to snapshots on Java. Unfortunately, the generation was broken, and all surface caves spawned completely filled with water. After some exploration, the 4 players made it to a swamp and set up a small house. Soon enough, Martin 1500, Dying Galaxy, and Bob joined the world. Unexpectedly, Richard and John had joined as well. Richard had been inactive with the server for quite some time, and John was just inactive in general. However, Monk, Soy, and Jules did not come back to the world ever since the house was initially set up. Despite having lost 2 members, players progressed nicely through the game. Because all of the surface caves were submerged in water, they resorted to strip mining, resulting in large quantities of diamonds. After Bean Dini found a consistent way of finding caves suitable for mining, players were able to get lots of other resources underground. But what about the fishing part of Fish World? Well, the players fished a lot, and after they got diamond armor for themselves, they were still fishing most of the time. But once they got villagers, there was less need for fishing. Bob also got large amounts of netherite for the group, which meant that the players were now approaching the absolute max that tools and armor could go for. After they got max netherite, all of the players got together and fought the Ender Dragon.
Come on! Stop hitting me! Oh yeah!
The players also got into brewing, specifically instant harming potions. This gave the players slight paranoia, knowing that they could be killed without being able to react. Bob was notorious for making large quantities of lingering damage potions, which made him a target on the world. However, what Bob didn't know was that Jazz, Bean Dini, and Martin 1500 were also running their own harming potion factory. Because of the constant tension, conflict occurred easily. Speaking of conflict, Fish World definitely had a couple of its own incidents. John was the center of most of these, usually caused by Martin 1500's hate for him. The first main incident involved Martin 1500's donkey, aptly named Donko.
Yeah, look at Wallow. Oh, he's
John had accidentally killed Donko through a misinput, causing Martin 1500 to put an on-site order on him. This meant that any time the other players saw him around the base, they would have to kill him. Another incident involved Martin 1500's mushroom house. After John had been set on visitor by Jazz, he got locked in the mushroom house. The other players ended up trapping a zombie in the house with him, and since John's permissions to build, destroy, or fight back were gone, he was essentially spawn trapped inside the mushroom. Sadly, John was never able to progress through the game alongside the other players. Even though Fish World had very few players compared to Penn Island, with only around 4 regular players, it was the first time they really got into Minecraft since Penn Island. During the summer, the world served as a nice way to keep the server up, in a time where its only active members were losing their minds, sitting in the VC for hours. But in the end, Fish World died off due to school starting again. Like Penn Island, it faded away without question. Minecraft holds a special place in the lunch table. And looking at the history behind its presence on the server alone has told quite the story. However, the story doesn't just end there. Minecraft has plenty of updates on its way, and it'll be interesting to see how the server reacts to each of them. After all, the server still has unfinished business with the game, starting when the 1.18 Caves and Cliffs update is released. In any case, this game has clearly proven its legendary status among the lunch table, and its growth will definitely be looked forward to. This has been the history of Minecraft in the lunch table, and we'll see you in December.